The grit wasn't merely terrestrial particles. It was the crushing weight of circumstance made tangible. The abrasive residue of a nation westward lunging, etching itself onto the stagecoach's groaning floorboards like scratches on scarred skin. It coated the splintered paint, thick and tenacious as dried gore, clung like a persistent fever to the skeletal horses, their breath erupting in ragged, ghostly plumes against the sharp Montana chill. It infiltrated the very weave of Lily Carmichael's dove-gray wool dress, a relentless friction, a constant reminder of the journey's brutal reality. Its burn lingered beneath her eyelids, its alkaline sharpness, the taste of alkali flats and broken promises, a bitter sacrament to the pact she'd unknowingly sealed. She was fleeing Lowell, Massachusetts, fleeing the suffocating miasma of grief that clung heavier than mill lint after the sweating sickness claimed first Mama, then Papa, within one devastating month, fleeing the echoing silence of the tenement, the loom's deafening clatter replaced by a void threatening degrading servitude or slow starvation, a whisper, a ghost memory sharp as winter air, Papa's calloused hand cool on her fevered brow BCE, courage, lily flower, always, his voice, already fraying like worn thread, then only the agonizing rasp in his chest, a sound fading into the suffocating silence, orphaned, adrift. The newspaper notice felt less like a gamble, more like a frayed rope flung across an abyss. Hope. It pulsed now, a frantic bird against the rigid cage of her stays. Startlingly defiant, amidst the omnipresent dust and the heavy scent of despair. Hope resided in the worn tintype, Mr. Silas Croft, his photographed smile frozen in benevolent greeting, eyes steady beneath a respectable bowler, his letters, penned in a stark, educated script devoid of saccharine sentiment, a mercy. Her heart felt too brittle for romance, spoke pragmatically of partnership, mutual respect, the bedrock promise of a roof in the sprawling Montana territory, Redemption Creek. The name itself had been a siren song, promising cleansing, absolution from the graveyard dirt of grief clinging to her soul. Escape or embrace. The question had dissolved into survival's stark imperative, a violent lurch, a piercing metallic scream, pitched Lily forward as the stagecoach shuddered to a bone-jarring halt. Before them loomed the arrogant false front of the Pioneers' Rest Hotel and Saloon, Redemption Creek's glaring nucleus of fledgling commerce and raw, unvarnished appetite. Lily instinctively smoothed her skirts, the worn wool scratchy beneath trembling fingers, her heart hammering a frantic cadence against the unyielding whalebone. Unease, sharp and visceral, pierced the fragile membrane of hope. Near the splintered boardwalk, a cluster of onlookers watched with a mixture of sun-baked boredom and cynical appraisal, faces weathered like old leather, eyes missing nothing. A woman among them, her own gaze weary, haunted by knowing, met Lily's for a piercing second. It wasn't welcome. It held a heavy weight, pity, a silent, desperate warning. Before Lily could decipher the unsettling semaphore, the woman turned away abruptly, fixated suddenly on the scuffed toes of her worn boots. The very air vibrated differently here, coarser, louder, saturated with stale beer, sun-baked manure, cheap cigars, and an underlying predatory tension that raised the fine hairs on Lily's neck. This was it, the unvarnished culmination of a pilgrimage fueled by loss, the threshold of everything terrifyingly unknown. Silas Croft awaited, a figure carved from the tintype, yet disconcertingly weathered by reality's unforgiving chisel. He stood like an island of grim respectability amidst rough-clad men expectorating viscous amber streams into the tormented earth. The lines bracketing his mouth were canyons compared to the photos. Subtle etching, dug not by smiles but by corrosive bitterness. The creases fanning from his eyes, smaller, sharper, devoid of the projected warmth she desperately clung to, spoke of relentless sun and shrewd, predatory calculation. His smile, when it finally surfaced as she stepped stiffly down onto the precarious boarding step, felt thin, stretched taut over tobacco-stained teeth, lacking the easy generosity fabricated over 1,000 arduous miles. Yet, incongruously, he wore a decent dark woolen suit, brushed meticulously clean, appearing almost unnaturally sober amidst the surrounding roughness. His voice retained the smooth, educated timbre of his letters. A small precarious anchor, Miss Lily Carmichael. An honor. He scanned her, a swift, head-to-toe appraisal that felt disturbingly akin to livestock being assessed at market. The inspection lingered, making her skin crawl. The journey, I trust it was bearable. He reached for her small, battered valise, his grip impersonal, brisk, like a merchant taking disinterested delivery. Welcome to Redemption Creek. Your new chapter commences. Lily forced a reciprocal smile, swallowing the bile of unexpected dread coiling deep within her belly. Nerves, she frantically told herself. The sheer vastness after Lowell's confines. The audacity of this desperate wager. Thank you, Mr. Croft. It's strikingly vast. Her gaze swept the wide, unpaved thoroughfare. Raw timber structures huddled beneath an immense, pale sky utterly indifferent to the human dramas unfolding below. Bleaker, harsher, infinitely rawer than his pragmatic letters conveyed. A desolation more profound than Lowell's crowded loneliness threatened to engulf her. The woman's pitying glance resurfaced, a premonition, directed at her. We shall have you settled forthwith, Croft stated, shifting decisively to brisk logistics, guiding her with a proprietary hand, surprisingly firm on her elbow, towards the hotel's swinging batwing doors, which pulsed with raucous noise. A bath is arranged. Supper awaits. The ceremony is scheduled for 9 tomorrow morning, precisely as conveyed. Justice Davies officiates. Simple. Efficient. He ticked off arrangements like items on a manifest, utterly devoid of warmth. Lily nodded numbly, desperately trying to mirror his practicality, conjuring hopeful anticipation from the rising panic. Back east, whispers about mail-order brides dripped with condescending pity or scorn. Desperate, damaged goods. But Lily, stripped bare by grief, saw calculated strategy. A rational grasp for structure ripped violently away. Croft's detailed letters promised exactly that, stability. The foundation craved far more than fleeting affection. The hotel room, tucked at the shadowed end of a gloomy hall redolent of harsh lye soap, stale cigars, and mournful piano strains drifting up from the saloon, was small but starkly clean. Croft deposited her valise, offered a curt nod devoid of welcome. Rest well. I shall collect you precisely at 9. He departed, leaving Lily enveloped in a crushing silence more menacing than the stagecoach's clamor. Her reflection stared back from the warped mirror, a pale, haunted oval, wide eyes reflecting a fragile truce between terror and stubborn will. I am here. I survived. I will make this work. But the promised stability felt treacherous. Thin ice over black water. The woman's pitying face returned. What had she known? Morning arrived violently bright, baking the street dust into a shimmering haze. Dressing numbly in the simple white muslin dress, painstakingly sewn from hoarded remnants, intended as a symbol of sanctuary, not ruin, her fingers trembled uncontrollably. Pins scattered, buttons resisted. Croft arrived with jarring punctuality, freshly shaved, suit meticulously brushed. yet trailing the faint, unmistakable miasma of last night's saloon whiskey. He offered his arm stiffly, the brittle smile failing utterly to reach his narrowed, assessing eyes. "Ready, my dear." The endearment clanged, hollow and unsettling. Justice of the Peace Davies awaited in his cramped office above the pungent mercantile chaos of the general store. The air hung thick with pipe tobacco, old paper, yellowed ledgers, and dust motes dancing in sunlight, slanting through a single grimy window pane. Stacks of statutes and rolled survey maps leaned precariously. Davies himself was small, physically unremarkable, thinning hair slicked down with pomade, spectacles perched low on a sharp nose. His magnified eyes, however, held a restless, unnervingly knowing quality that pierced Lily's fragile composure, deepening unease into dread. The ceremony was a masterpiece of sterile brevity, sacred words mumbled carelessly, stripped bare, sounding like a rushed property deed recitation. Lily felt detached, a spectator at an emotionless play. When Davies intoned, almost an afterthought, "Pronounce you man and wife," Croft offered no kiss, no squeeze of the hand, not even a glance. Just a dismissive pat on her gloved fingers before turning immediately to the justice. "Obliged, Mr. Davies. Everything precisely in order. Legally." Davies adjusted his spectacles, offering Croft a quick, conspiratorial glance, a fleeting flicker of shared understanding that sent ice water down Lily's spine. Perfectly legal and binding. Silas, watertight as a drum. As always, he scribbled his signature, the pen nib scratching loudly in the constricted space. As always. What dark transaction did that phrase imply? A shared history. Wedding nerves. She desperately told herself. Magnified innocent nuances. Outside, beneath the relentless Montana sun, the illusion shattered irrevocably. Croft didn't lead her towards the promised modest home, nor a waiting buggy. His hand clamped down firmly, possessively, painfully, on her upper arm, steering her decisively towards the rowdier saloon end of the Pioneers' Rest Complex. Two figures detached themselves from the deep shade beneath the saloon's overhang, straightening with predatory slowness. Rough, trail-hardened clothes thick with grime, faces brutal studies in indifference to suffering, eyes flinty, utterly devoid of empathy, raked over Lily like a physical violation, assessing her worth like butchers appraising livestock. Leaden dread crystallized within her, cold and suffocating. She recognized them vaguely from the stagecoach crowd. The taller one's leer was particularly unnerving. He was missing several teeth, and a jagged scar traced a path from his left eyebrow into his hairline. "This, the shipment?" "Croft," demanded the scarred man, his voice a gravelly rasp. He punctuated the question by spitting a thick stream of dark tobacco juice inches from her pristine white hem. Calculated contempt. Croft nodded, the flimsy veneer of respectability cracking wide open, revealing cold, avaricious eyes. "Fresh off the stage, gentlemen, just as specified. Young, sound, docile seeming, Eastern bred. Wouldn't know a wolf from a preacher." He gave Lily a slight, contemptuous push forward, causing her to stumble. "Miss Lily Carmichael, or Miss S. Croft, technically. Thanks to our obliging Justice Davies, allow me to introduce Mr. Barlow and Mr. Finn." The scarred one was Barlow. The other, Finn, was shorter, stockier, with small porcine eyes that seemed to absorb everything greedily. They have associates further downriver, associates who possess a distinct appreciation for certain qualities in their acquisitions, very specific qualities. Lily stared, reeling, her gaze snapping frantically between the menacing pair. and the unrecognizable Croft. Mind scrambling to reconcile letters, vows, with unfolding terror. Mr. Croft, what? What madness is this? Where are you taking me? The house. You promised stability. Croft barked a short, ugly laugh devoid of humor. You ain't going nowhere near a house with me, girlie. The wedding. He waved dismissively. Purely procedural. A legal fig leaf. Convenient paperwork arranged by our good friend Davies. Makes the transaction look legitimate. Covers everyone if some nosy federal marshal starts sniffing. He fished out a hefty leather pouch, tossing it casually to Barlow, who snatched it greedily, hefting its weight. Payment rendered. Gentlemen. She's all yours. The world tilted. Transaction. Sold. Paperwork. Fig leaf. Brutal words slammed against her consciousness. Sold. Her voice emerged a thin thread of disbelief. But the wedding, the vows, I am your wife. Legally. The vows. Sacred. Barlow grinned, showcasing broken, stained teeth. Not for long. Little missy. Legal. Maybe. But just cargo now. Prime cargo. He leered, gaze lingering sickeningly. Heard there's a special order waitin' downriver. Specific requirements from a wealthy client back east. Rich fella named Thorne pays top dollar for his preferences. Fetchin' a premium. She will. He lunged forward suddenly. Thick, calloused fingers closing around her upper arm like a vice. Bruising pressure stealing her breath, extinguishing her cry. Lily gasped. A choked sound of pain and utter despair, instinctively trying to wrench free. Futile. Her horrified eyes flew silently to Croft's face, searching for any flicker of remorse. His expression was blank, a mask of chilling indifference. He turned his back, meticulously adjusting his respectable collar, and strolled calmly towards the saloon, disappearing inside without a backward glance. The betrayal pierced deeper, more agonizingly than Barlow's cruel grip. Meticulously procured merchandise, selected for a special order, traded like livestock under the veil of a fraudulent, legally sanctioned marriage, facilitated by the town's justice. Barlow and Finn wasted no time, ignoring her choked sobs, the terror etched on her face. They dragged her, stumbling, vision blurred by tears of terror and humiliation, towards a battered freight wagon lurking under a grimy canvas tarp down a dusty, garbage-strewn alleyway. The main street seemed suddenly, unnervingly deserted. Faces abruptly turned away, finding intense interest in storefront displays or swirling dust patterns. Such casual brutality, perhaps, was commonplace. Despair washed through her, absolute and suffocating, trapped, betrayed, utterly alone. Her desperate dreams disintegrated like smoke in the unforgiving Montana sun. Concealed in the sharp shadows between the general store and the assay office, a lone figure watched, immobile, blending seamlessly, eagle eyes. A Lakota scout, whose presence often went unremarked unless his tracking skills were urgently needed, observed. His lean, impassive face, sculpted by elements and endurance, hid intensely perceptive obsidian eyes. He'd seen the stage arrive, noted the woman's fragile hope warring with palpable fear. He'd overheard Croft's drunken saloon boasts weeks prior, easy money. Gullible Eastern women lured by false promises, procured like fine horses, disposed of profitably downriver to a network managed by a man named Thorne, whose name Croft uttered with mingled fear and avarice. He recognized Barlow and Finn, human jackals, whispered to be vicious cogs in a shadowy machine spiriting away the vulnerable. Wasichu greed manifested in countless ugly forms. Human trafficking, a vile sickness festering in the shadows cast by encroaching settlements. He'd witnessed the hollow mockery of the wedding, noted the swift transaction. The complicit nod between Croft and Davies, heard the woman's thin cry, saw the devastation crumple her features as Croft abandoned her. His hand tightened instinctively on the worn elk horn hilt of the knife at his hip. His people held honor paramount, life, wakan, sacred. This calculated desecration violated every tenet of his existence. It ignited a cold, righteous fury, echoing injustices inflicted upon his own kin. He could remain hidden, slip away. It was not his fight. She was Wasichu, part of the tide eroding the Lakota way of life, slaughtering the sacred Tatanka. Yet, he saw hope extinguished, replaced by primal terror. He saw jackals embodying universal greed. His spirit, the whispers of ancestors on the wind, urged intervention. Justice cried out, not in corrupted Wasichu codes, but in the fundamental law of balance. Humanity demanded action. He melted deeper into shadows, silent as a hunting lynx, mind dissecting the scene, calculating, formulating a swift plan. They would not take her downriver, not while he drew breath. Lily was bundled, half thrown like unwanted grain, into the stifling darkness beneath the wagon's heavy, smelly canvas canopy. She landed hard against rough planks, pungent with old manure and the faint, metallic tang of fear sweat. The heavy flap slammed down, plunging her into near-total gloom thick with choking dust. She curled into herself, pressing against the wagon's vibrating side, silent tears tracing burning paths down her dust-streaked cheeks. Racked with violent tremors, the wagon lurched violently, wheels grinding protestingly, carrying her away from the ironically named Redemption Creek towards an unimaginable destination. Chattel. Merchandise bound for perdition. Hours crawled by, marked only by the shifting heat baking the canvas and the wagon's monotonous, nauseating sway. Barlow and Finn's crude voices drifted back, punctuated by harsh laughter. They halted once, sounds filtered back, horses drinking, canteen clinks, muffled curses. No one checked the cargo, less important than the horses. Suddenly, a new, more immediate terror. The terrain grew rougher, the wagon bouncing violently over rock-strewn ground. They were climbing, angling away from any semblance of a known trail, heading deeper into the broken foothills. Through a tear in the canvas, Lily glimpsed sheer drop-offs mere feet from the straining wheels. Barlow cursed the horses, the whip cracking like gunfire. Finn muttered nervously about treacherous footing and the lateness of the hour. Why this route? Was this part of Thorne's network, a hidden path to avoid detection? Or were Barlow and Finn taking a suicidal shortcut? The wagon slewed dangerously close to an edge, dislodging loose rock that tumbled silently into the unseen abyss below. Lily squeezed her eyes shut, praying for an end that wasn't a horrifying plunge into darkness. New climax scene 1, river crossing, just as dusk bled bruised colors across the vast sky, visible through tears in the canvas. They descended rapidly towards the unmistakable sound of rushing water. The wagon halted abruptly near a churning, swollen river, far wider and faster than Lily had imagined possible from its sound alone. Spring melt, perhaps, had turned a manageable creek into a raging torrent. "Damn it all!" Barlow roared, leaping down. "Rivers run in flood stage. The usual crossings drowned. Now what, boss?" Finn sounded genuinely worried, peering into the darkening, turbulent water. "This ain't no place to swim horses, let alone a wagon. Thorne wants this delivery tonight at Willow Bend Station. Flood or no flood," Barlow snarled, pacing agitatedly. "We push across here." He pointed upstream towards a slightly narrower stretch where submerged boulders created treacherous, foaming rapids. Looks shallower there. We lighten the load, unhitch the spare team. Push her through. Push. In that current, we'll lose the wagon, the horses, everything. Finn protested, eyes wide with fear. We lose this cargo. Thorne'll have our hides nailed to his office door. Now shut up and unhitch. Barlow drew his pistol menacingly. Panic seized Lily. They intended to force the wagon, and her, across that maelstrom. She scrabbled frantically at the canvas ties inside, desperate to escape. But they were securely knotted from the outside. Muffled shouts and curses indicated Barlow and Finn struggling with the panicked horses. The wagon shifted violently as they unhitched the lead pair. Then, strong hands gripped the wagon sides, pushing. With a groaning lurch, the heavy vehicle slid down the muddy bank and plunged into the icy, turbulent water. Cold shock slammed into Lily as water instantly flooded the wagon bed, rising rapidly past her knees, her waist. The current gripped the wagon like a malevolent hand, twisting it sideways, threatening to capsize it entirely. She heard the terrified whinnying of the horses struggling against the torrent. Barlow's roared curses, Finn's panicked shouts fading as the current swept them faster downstream, away from the struggling men on the bank. Wood splintered. A wheel struck a submerged rock with jarring force, throwing Lily hard against the wagon side. Water surged over her head, disoriented, choking. She clawed her way upward, gasping for air just as the wagon tilted precariously. Water pouring over the sides. It was sinking, or breaking apart. She was trapped inside a disintegrating, drowning cage. This was the end. A watery grave in the Montana wilderness. Then chaos outside intensified. Startled shouts. Confusion. Then a sickening, strangled gurgle abruptly cut short. An eerie silence descended, broken only by the river's roar, the wagon's groaning protest, and the frantic hammering of Lily's heart. The rear canvas flap was suddenly ripped away violently. Silhouetted against the blood-orange twilight sky stood a tall figure, not Barlow, not Finn. Leaner, moving with fluid, predatory grace. Dark buckskin, long black hair tied back from a face dominated by high cheekbones, and intense obsidian eyes that sliced through the shadows, assessing her instantly. In his right hand, a long-bladed knife glinted faintly, water dripping from its edge. Eagle eyes. He regarded her silently, then gestured commandingly towards the opening. Come. His low voice held calm authority amidst the watery chaos. Hesitantly, limbs numb with cold and protesting from confinement, trembling uncontrollably, Lily crawled awkwardly towards the broken tailgate. He reached in, offering a steady, calloused hand. The grip was firm, strong, impersonal, yet secure. He pulled her effortlessly from the rapidly swamping wagon bed just as it gave a final lurch and submerged completely, vanishing into the churning brown water. Standing unsteadily on the slippery bank he'd somehow dragged her to, gasping. Soaked and freezing. She saw them, Barlow and Finn, lying motionless near the water's edge downstream, bound expertly with their own ropes, gagged securely, unconscious, neutralized. The stranger turned his full attention back to her, his dark eyes scanning her disheveled, soaking state. They will trouble you no more, he stated flatly. You are safe. For now. Lily stared, mind reeling. Safe. The word felt alien. Who are you? She whispered, voice raw. I am called Eagle Eyes, he replied, gaze already scanning the landscape, attuned to twilight nuances. This river is treacherous, but holds fewer dangers than the men who sought to traffic you across it. We must leave. Quickly. Leave. The question hung heavy. Go. Where? Croft orchestrated her ruin. Barlow and Finn intended to sell her. This silent Lakota warrior performed stunning, violent mercy. Saved her for what? She possessed nothing. No money, allies, destination, understanding of this vast, dangerous world. Away from those who profit from stolen lives, Eagle Eyes stated starkly. He gestured towards dark, undulating hills rising sharply to the north. The land offers sanctuary. Tonight, that must suffice. Assuming compliance, he turned and began walking, moccasined feet moving silently over broken ground, melting into encroaching darkness towards the unknown wilderness. Lily hesitated, glancing back at the churning river that had nearly claimed her, at the bound forms. Then she followed Eagle Eyes into the swallowing darkness, plunging headlong into the indifferent, dangerous wilderness, leaving the wreckage of her planned life submerged in the cold Montana floodwaters. The immense landscape consumed them. Eagle Eyes moved with astonishing synergy with the terrain, navigating treacherous slopes, pushing through dense thickets of greasewood and pungent sage with effortless speed and silence. Even as darkness enveloped them, broken only by a sliver of moon painting high ridges silver, Lily struggled, flimsy shoes affording agonizing protection, city-softened muscles screaming, branches snatched cruelly, brambles scratched viciously. Yet she pressed on, propelled by primal instinct, anchored by fragile, burgeoning trust in the enigmatic man leading her from doom. He spoke rarely, casting swift glances back, pausing infinitesimally on steepest ascents. He selected their resting place, a shallow rock overhang high on a canyon wall, screened by ancient pinyon pines, concealed, defensible, sheltered from the biting night wind. With practiced economy, he conjured a small, smokeless fire from gathered twigs, its flames casting dancing shadows, a tiny pocket of vital warmth. He offered water from a supple hide water skin, cool, clean, tasting faintly of pine resin, then tough, smoky dried venison. Lily accepted with fervent gratitude, realizing she hadn't eaten since the meager hotel breakfast lifetimes ago. The silence between them wasn't strained. It filled with the wilderness symphony, crickets, a distant coyote's mournful cry, wind sighing through pines. Why? The question finally escaped her, raw, hesitant. Why help me? They were white men, like me, in a way. Eagle Eyes gazed into the fire's heart, profile etched against amber light, stern, contemplative. I witnessed dishonor, he stated finally, voice low, resonant. Men treating another human as less than dust, as chattel, as nothing. He turned slightly, dark eyes reflecting flames. My people, the Lakota, hold life Wakan, sacred, a gift from Wakantanka, the great mystery. No living soul should be bartered like bison hides. A pause, imbued with deep, palpable sorrow. Too much suffering stains this land, stolen from my people, watered by greed and broken promises. His intense gaze met hers, holding ancestral pain yet unwavering conviction. What was done to you was wrong, profoundly wrong. In the eyes of the Creator, it could not stand. He hesitated, then added quietly, almost reluctantly, and the ways of men like Croft and Thorne, they steal more than just bodies. They steal hope. They break spirits. My own sister, years ago, vanished near a river town downstream. Lured by false promises from men who spoke like Croft, she was never seen again. Perhaps he didn't finish the thought, but the personal echo of loss hung heavy in the air. His words, stripped of platitudes, landed with profound impact. It was wrong. The simple affirmation anchored her. He hadn't acted from pity, nor gallantry, nor despite her being white. but perhaps partly because of a shared wound inflicted by the same kind of predatory evil. He acted from inviolable principles, connection to something sacred, a foundation, however small, upon which she could cautiously begin reconstructing her shattered self. "Thank you," she breathed. Sincerity raw. "You saved my life, more than my life." He offered a curt nod, accepting without ceremony. "Rest now," he advised, watchful gaze sweeping the perimeter. "We travel farther, faster. When the morning star shows, Thorn will discover his loss soon. He will not give up easily." He arranged dry pine needles near the fire's warmth, a practical gesture feeling monumental, wrapped in borrowed heat, listening to the steady rhythm of Eagle Eye's breathing, reassuring in the immense silence, a fragile tendril of peace unfurled. The future remained a terrifying blank map. But tonight, she was safe, free, and astonishingly, not entirely alone. Continued survival and deepening bond. The ensuing days settled into a demanding rhythm, grueling movement during daylight, brief periods of watchful rest. Lily entered an intensive, unforgiving school of wilderness survival. Eagle Eyes her taciturn, exacting, yet surprisingly patient tutor. Silent movement. Reading tracks, deer, coyote, shod horse, faint moccasin, edible berries and roots. Memorizing distinctions between sustenance and poison. Finding hidden seeps, purifying water with heated stones. He spoke sparingly of himself or his tribe's exact location, respecting secrecy, but shared profound knowledge of the natural world, interconnectedness. Weather moods, with quiet generosity, Lily became a desperate, diligent student, absorbing lessons fiercely, driven by primal need to shed suffocating helplessness, to forge herself into someone capable of enduring. Cultivated softness eroded, replaced by burgeoning resilience, unexpected toughness, pushing aching muscles, ignoring scratches and bites, cultivating wary awareness, senses sharpened. One cool evening beside a chuckling stream shaded by towering cottonwoods, Eagle Eyes spoke more freely. Lakota lore, sacredness of buffalo, spiritual kinship with the land, Wakan Tonka in wind, water, eagles. Stones, Sundance, sacrifice. Renewal, winter counts, pictographic histories, ceremonies marking life's sacred cycles. Then somber tones. Quiet grief, devastating changes by the Wasatch westward push, treaties broken, hunting grounds shrinking, calculated buffalo slaughter, pushing his people toward starvation, dependence, erosion of an ancient way of life. Lily listened, rapt, horrified, her tragedy shrinking against his people's systemic dispossession. Perceived immense dignity beneath stoicism, quiet strength forged by enduring hardship, and deep spiritual connection the newcomers seemed determined to sever. His quiet mention of his lost sister resonated deeply with her own parental loss, creating an unexpected bridge of shared sorrow. Croft. Lily uttered the name one deceptive, sun-drenched afternoon, resting in juniper shade. When he handed me over, Barlow mentioned downriver, business associates, a special order for Thorn. She looked at Eagle Eyes, chilling memory tightening its grip. "Do you think, others, other women, is this trade organized, bigger than just Croft?" Eagle Eyes nodded slowly, gaze distant. "The whispers ride the wind," he confirmed gravely, "like poison seeping into streams. Croft is a scavenger feeding on scraps left by larger predators. Barlow and Finn, mere couriers." He met her gaze, eyes serious. "There are others, Lily Carmichael, shadowy figures orchestrating this vile trade from afar, often from respectable Eastern drawing rooms, growing fat on profits from this river of human misery. Webs of lies, false marriage, employment, new beginnings, to ensnare the desperate, women like you, and his voice grew heavy, sometimes targeting those perceived as vulnerable within my own communities, or others pushed to the margins. He paused, deciding how much fragmented intelligence gathered over long seasons to reveal. Persistent rumors, tales whispered around lonely campfires, of specific buyers with particular, often depraved, tastes, men of wealth and dark appetites back east, shielded by money and false respectability. They pay premiums through intermediaries like Croft. Croft bragged loudly in his cups at the Pioneer's Rest. Thorne, Elias Thorne, specifically for women matching predetermined descriptions. Horror flared in her eyes. Hair color, eye color. Age, education, perceived temperament, docile. Compliant. Untouched. It's systematic. Cold-blooded. This Thorne seems a linchpin, coordinating demand with supply procured through deception and violence. Whispers link Thorne's operations directly to the Missouri and Platte Freight Company, suggesting a powerful man named Alistair Harrison might be involved at the highest level, perhaps providing logistical cover, or more deeply involved. He even recounted hearing Thorne's name linked, distantly, to rumors of illicit activities near Lowell years ago, searching for factory investments, but perhaps scouting for other commodities too, a detail sending fresh nausea through Lily. Had she been unknowingly cataloged years before her parents' deaths? The horrifying revelation struck like a physical blow. Not random victimhood, but entanglement in a vast, specific, dehumanizing machine. Barlow's crude words about a special order crystallized. Intertwined with fear was a nascent spark, defiant, righteous anger. These men, Croft, the shadowy Thorne, the powerful Harrison, abetted by corrupt officials like Davies, built fortunes upon shattered lives, operating under respectable guises, protected by distance, wealth, influence, systemic corruption. Can anything be done? Lily asked, question raw, urgent. Can people like Thorne, Harrison, be stopped? Eagle eyes considered gravely, gaze sweeping the rugged landscape. Darkness recoils from harsh light, he stated cryptically. Their power resides in secrecy. If their network, methods, names, especially the powerful funders, could be dragged into the open sun, perhaps, exposure is their enemy. But seeking such dangerous truth, uncovering hard proof Wasatch law demands, that path is fraught with extreme peril. They guard their secrets with lethal ferocity. Lily fell silent, gaze fixed unseeingly on sunlight dancing on creek stones. The wilderness stripped illusions, forced brutal confrontations. Paradoxically, it also revealed surprising, stubborn strength. Eagle eyes saved her life. Now, perhaps, he ignited something else. Steely resolve, burning determination. Survival wasn't enough. Fear remained, a cold knot, but alloyed with fierce fury demanding action, justice for herself and all unseen victims. She looked up, meeting Eagle Eyes' steady gaze, her own clear, resolute. Tell me more, she requested, voice low but firm. Everything you know, suspect, about this shadow network. Thorne, Harrison, routes. Buyers. Money. Eagle Eyes studied her face, recognizing the profound transformation, fear tempered by steel, helpless victim receding, replaced by a survivor, a nascent warrior. He had provided rescue, now, perhaps, guidance towards a different power, seeking systemic justice, not just personal escape. He spoke then, low-pitched, sharing fragmented, dangerous intelligence. Names whispered in hidden places, patterns in disappearances of vulnerable women, dismissed by indifferent authorities. Suspected routes using Missouri and Platte tributaries, hidden overland trails, near impossibility of concrete proof demanded by white man's court, especially against embedded corruption like Davies. He confirmed seeing Davies exchange envelopes with Croft, reiterated lethal danger of probing too deeply. As he detailed the likely scope and chilling efficiency, Lily listened intently, mind racing. They needed undeniable evidence, hard, irrefutable proof exposing Croft, Thorne, Harrison, Davies, the entire rotten chain, ledgers, damning letters, bills of sale masked as legitimate dealings, an almost insurmountable task for two isolated individuals, a mail-order bride presumed lost or dead, and a Lakota warrior on the hostile margins. Redemption Creek, Lily murmured, name laced with bitter irony, conviction dawning. It begins there. Croft, arrogant, boastful, perhaps. The weakest link. Eagle eyes nodded slowly. He is careless, he agreed grimly. Blinded by greed, inflated by arrogance, thinks himself untouchable. Likely, he keeps meticulous records, a detailed ledger, correspondence with Thorne, riverboat captains, possibly Davies. Men like Croft trust paper, but returning. Lily countered. Dangers apparent, impossibly dangerous. He knows my face. He'll be alerted now, furious. And you, acutely aware of his extreme risk near any white settlement. Ways to see without being seen. Eagle eyes responded cryptically, gaze towards hills cradling Redemption Creek. Ways to listen. The night has hidden eyes and ears. He outlined a perilous strategy. Approach under darkest moon. Conduct covert surveillance. Pinpoint Croft's office, likely near the land registry. Probable repository for records. Identify window of opportunity to infiltrate unseen. Suicidal. Discovery meant certain, brutal death, or worse. Visceral terror snaked down Lily's spine, met and pushed back by surging determination. Croft's indifferent face, Barlow's bruising grip, imagined faces of countless victims, Eliza M. Maria V. Anna P., propelled her, overriding fear. We have to try, she declared, voice low, unwavering. If we do nothing, they win. More lives destroyed. Over the next nerve-wracking days, they circled back towards Redemption Creek outskirts, using surrounding hills as vantage points. Eagle eyes intensified Lily's training. Stealth, observation, patience, breading light, shadow, wind-borne sounds. From hidden looks, they map town rhythms, stagecoach arrivals, departures, sheriff's predictable patrols confirming his lengthy afternoon sojourn inside the Pioneer's Rest Saloon. Street activity ebb and flow. Observed Croft's arrogant swagger between saloon, hotel, an unassuming office tucked between assay office and vacant lot. Crucially, witnessed him meeting furtively with Justice Davies twice near the general store rear entrance, exchanging papers discreetly, confirming collusion beyond doubt. The finalized plan was starkly dangerous, perfect timing, steel nerves, luck. Under impenetrable moonless night darkness, Eagle Eyes would silently neutralize Croft's recently acquired watchdog, a mangy but loud mongrel chained behind the office, then use his knife to carefully jemmy the rear window lock. Lily Slider would slip inside. Mission Point Rapid. Targeted search for incriminating documents, the ledger, letters, proof linking Croft to Thorne, Davies, Harrison, the network. Eagle Eyes would maintain vigilant watch. ready for diversion or lethal intervention. Every instinct screamed protest. She was a grieving orphan, mill worker, not a spy, but searing betrayal images, imagined violation. Spectral victim faces propelled her. The infiltration and Thorn's arrival. The chosen night arrived. Oppressively dark, air unnaturally still. Tinny saloon piano music and drunken laughter felt like isolated noise islands in an ocean of suffocating tension. They descended like wraiths, hugging deepest shadows. Eagle eyes flowed ahead, a deeper shadow, towards Croft's silent office. Lily waited breathlessly behind stacked lumber near the alley, heart pounding, threatening betrayal. A low, perfect nighthawk whistle pierced the silence. The signal. Taking a steadying breath, Lily crept forward, hugging the adjacent building's rough wall. The rear window was slightly ajar. Eagle eyes materialized beside it, a still, watchful sentinel. Knife gleaming faintly in starlight reflected from an alley puddle. Uttering a desperate prayer, Lily hoisted herself onto the dusty sill, squeezed through, dropped softly inside. Stale air hit her, old cigar smoke, spilled whiskey dust. Faint starlight through the grimy front window offered meager illumination. Two tall filing cabinets, a large roll-top desk dominated. Where would Croft hide secrets? Hands slick with sweat, trembling despite fierce control efforts. Started methodically with desk drawers, mundane invoices, land deeds, routine correspondence. Nothing. Panic crawled up her throat. What if it's not here? Forced focus, deep breaths, moved to filing cabinets. Top drawers, claim forms, maps, prospectuses. Nothing obviously sinister. Despair beckoned. Time slipped away. Clock ticks like hammer blows. Then, questing fingers deep in the bottom drawer of the second cabinet, dustiest one. Beneath outdated territorial notices and brittle newspapers, encountered worn leather. Hope surged, sharp, painful. Heart hammering, carefully extracted the object. Small, unassuming ledger, distinct binding. Nauseating triumph and soul-crushing horror washed over her as she flipped it open under weak moonlight. Not business transactions. Chilling, meticulous chronicle of human trafficking. Female names. Initials. Acquisition dispatch dates. Cryptic location codes. RR River Route. River Route TPC Landing Platte City. MB Camp Miners Bar. Substantial sums. Sickeningly familiar initials. BF. Barlow and Finn. Others repeated. JRMT Provision. Paid JD could JD be Davies. Explicit confirmation. Nausea churned. Irrefutable proof. Cold. Methodical trafficking on an appalling scale. Eyes scanned neat columns, stinging with helpless rage and pity. Eliza M., fair hair young, delivered MB camp, paid SC full. Maria 5, dark eyes Spanish speaker untouched, consigned JR. Downriver, full remittance due. Anna P., compliant domestic skills, Thorn Act. Then, near the bottom, ink still dark, her own name, Lily C. Eastern Order specific request. Compliant educated fair appearance ref. Lowell inquiry July via Thorn. Delivered RC via JD legal paperwork. Paid SC partial balance due upon delivery T. Advise H. Re. Fulfillment delay asset secure. Delivered top paid. Consigned advise H. Harrison. Specific request echoing Barlow chilling reference. Lowell inquiry July via Thorn. Thorn himself investigating her. Cold commerce language applied to stolen souls. Her life. Anisette. The vaguest flicker of recognition sparked. A tall, elegantly dressed man glimpsed once. Years ago. Conferring with Lowell mill owners. Could it possibly be the same man? The connection felt tenuous. nightmarish. Sudden sharp creak from the front boardwalk jolted her. Froze. Ledger clutched fiercely. Heavy, unsteady footsteps approached, accompanied by slurred singing. Croft. Returning early. Raw panic seized her. Get out. Now. Scrambling silently towards the rear window, clutching the ledger. Heard a key fumbling noisily in the front lock. Handle rattled. No time. Outside. Eagle eyes emitted a sharp, low hiss. Eyes darted desperately. Tall, narrow wardrobe in darkest corner, draped with heavy oilcloth coat. Primal instinct propelled her behind it, pressed flat against cold, rough wood. Praying shadows and Croft's intoxication would conceal her. Door swung inward. Silas Croft silhouetted against faint streetlight, swaying, reeking of cheap whiskey. Not alone. A second man entered silently, purposefully behind him. Taller, radiating cold. Absolute command that instantly diminished Croft. Impeccably dressed in expensive dark city attire, jarringly out of place. Palpable aura of contained violence, lethal authority. Eyes, visible as Croft fumbled with the desk lamp, were cold. Pale ice chips sweeping the room with unnerving, predatory acuity. Thorn. It had to be. And disturbingly, inexplicably, the faint flicker of recognition intensified. Something about his profile, the set of his jaw, unsettlingly familiar. Must you be so astonishingly careless, Croft? Thorn inquired, voice low. Smooth stone laced with undisguised menace, quieter than Croft's bluster, infinitely more dangerous. Windows unlatched, flimsy locks, an engraved invitation. Is this how you safeguard our sensitive mutual interests? Especially, voice dropped, adding weight, when Mr. Harrison demands absolute, unwavering discretion. Just errand the place, Mr. Thorn, sir. Croft stammered, drunken bravado evaporating. Fumbling nervously. Thorn's sudden appearance unnerved him deeply. Place gets stuffy. No harm. Town's dead asleep. Complacency breeds catastrophe. Croft. Always. Thorn retorted icily, penetrating gaze scanning shadowed corners, pausing fractionally, chillingly, near the wardrobe. Lily held her breath, heart hammering loud enough to betray her. My principles, Thorn continued, near whisper, again emphasizing Harrison, demand absolute discretion. The integrity and profitability of this enterprise hinges upon it. And it seems your most recent acquisition, the girl, Lily Carmichael, has unfortunately attracted unwelcome attention. Attention. How? Croft sounded baffled. Fear tremor in his voice. She was delivered. Payment received. Mostly. Barlow and Finn took her downriver hours ago, halfway to PC Landing. Indeed. Thorn raised a skeptical eyebrow. Then enlighten me why Messrs. Barlow and Finn were discovered bound, expertly gagged, unconscious, several miles down the wrong trail this morning by another courier. The girl, the valuable merchandise, vanished. Thorn's voice dangerously soft, radiating lethal intent. Croft uttered a vile, choked curse. Vanished. Impossible. Those idiots must have been. That interfering Lakota bastard, Eagle Eyes, always lurking, spying. What could he want with her? His motives are irrelevant, Thorn snapped, patience thin. What is relevant is he interfered, and the merchandise, our merchandise, procured at expense to fulfill a specific, high-value order for one of Mr. Harrison's discerning associates, is unaccounted for, vanished. Creates significant complications. He stepped closer, pinning the sweating Croft. Loose ends. Croft air liabilities. Especially loose ends who might possess incriminating knowledge. Loose ends who might talk. He moved purposefully towards the roll-top desk. This girl was a specific, high-value acquisition. Losing her represents considerable financial setback. Her potential testimony poses a far graver threat to you, me, and Mr. Harrison possesses infamous intolerance for threats jeopardizing his operations. He stopped near the desk. Now, where is the ledger? The detailed record. The one you were explicitly instructed to keep secure. Lily's blood turned to ice. The ledger, damning proof, clutched fiercely in her trembling hand. Croft waved vaguely towards the filing cabinet. Locked tight. Mr. Thorne. Safe and secure. Bottom drawer, under old maps. Thorne strode deliberately, grasped the bottom drawer handle, pulled, slid open smoothly. Not locked. Riffled quickly, expertly, straightened slowly, voice silken, lethal quiet. Your definition of safe and secure, Croft, is tragically unreliable. The ledger is not here. Croft blinked, alcohol haze burning off. What? Not there. Impossible. Put it back myself this afternoon, lurched clumsily, roughly shoving Thorne aside. Frantically rummaging, sending papers flying. Gone. Vanished. How? Thorne's icy eyes narrowed, sweeping the office again, gaze lingering pointedly, ominously, on the shadowed wardrobe corner. Lily felt trapped, exposed, heart hammering audibly. Thorne took a slow, deliberate step towards the wardrobe, hand reaching out sagacé. Ingly. Perhaps, he mused, voice dangerously smooth. Our necessary discussion has been inadvertently overheard. Perhaps we have an uninvited guest. Perhaps, lips curled into humorless smirk. Our troublesome loose-end isn't so loose. That flicker of recognition again. Thorne and Lowell, inspecting textile machinery years ago, his cold eyes sweeping over the workers, lingering briefly on Lily as the owner's daughter pointed her out. Yes, the connection solidified into sickening certainty. He knew who she was, long before the ad, just as Thorne's manicured fingers brushed the wardrobe's rough wood, inches from discovery. The sharp crack of a stone hit the exterior wall near the front window, followed immediately by heavy footsteps pounding away down the alley. Masterfully timed diversion. Eagle eyes. Devil's name was that, Croft exclaimed, startled, spinning clumsily, reaching for the Colt on his desk. Thorne paused, hand hovering, head cocked. Seems, he commented dryly, flicker of dark amusement. Your supposedly dead asleep town possesses lively nocturnal inhabitants. Or perhaps, implication hung menacingly, ascertain the disturbance. Croft, quickly. And Croft. Razor-sharp command edge returned. Find that ledger. Now, my principals, particularly Mr. Harrison, possess short tempers when investments are threatened. Security compromised. Their displeasure often necessitates permanent solutions to local personnel problems. Starting at the bottom, perfectly clear, lethal threat hung heavy, motivated by stark terror. Croft snatched the heavy Colt, fumbled briefly, bolted clumsily out the front door, shouting curses. Thorne hesitated one agonizing moment, penetrating gaze making a final, thorough sweep, lingering thoughtfully on the wardrobe, before stepping onto the boardwalk, pulling the door partially closed, presumably to follow. Instantly, Lily slipped from hiding, trembling violently, hastily, fumblingly, shoved the ledger down her dress front beneath her chemise, praying its bulk wouldn't betray her. Eagle eyes appeared at the rear window. Now, Lily, swiftly, silently, he reached in, steadying hand as she scrambled awkwardly back over the sill, into cool night air, melted into oppressive alley shadows, moving with practiced silence, utilizing cover, putting distance between themselves and Croft's office light, ascended rapidly towards concealing hills. Lily risked a fleeting backward glance. Under brighter saloon lamplight, Thorne conferred urgently with another man, slighter, possibly local hired muscle, who hurried purposefully towards the livery stable. He was sending someone after them already. The chase had begun, the relentless pursuit and the canyon ambush, deep within pinyon pines. Redemption Creek, a distant smudge of lights. They stopped. Lily sank onto fallen needles, gasping, delayed shock washing over her. Retrieved the ledger with trembling hands. "I found it," she whispered breathlessly, holding the damning book. Proof: names, dates, codes, payments. Davy's complicity confirmed. Croft answers to Thorne. Thorne mentioned principals. Harrison, several times. And Thorne, eagle eyes. "He was in Lowell years ago. He must have known who I was. Targeted me specifically." Eagle Eyes took the ledger, expression taut, grim, briefly examined contents in dim starlight, somber nod. Thorne, Elias Thorne, as suspected. Name carries heavy weight along river routes. Manages network, routes, buyers, money flow. Much higher than Croft. Intense gaze fixed on Lily, deadly serious. Possessing this, tap the ledger. Makes you infinitely more dangerous. They know it's missing. Will deal harshly with Croft. Thorne suspects you. They will hunt you, relentlessly, systematically, with considerable resources. No safe harbor anywhere Thorne's network reaches. Lily looked down at the small book, heavy with documented suffering. Her only weapon. Fear coiled, cold, sharp, intertwined with fierce resolve. "Let them hunt," she declared, voice surprisingly steady. "We hold truth, evidence in their own hand. Now, find someone courageous, uncorrupted, with power and will to listen, to act." Finding such an individual, legitimate authority, unwavering integrity became their immediate, perilous objective. Fort Benton, major river port, military post, several arduous days northeast, emerged as closest plausible bastion of territorial law, potentially resistant to Thorne's influence. Days travel across rugged country, where Thorne's network might still have eyes, but less direct control. Their journey northeast transformed into harrowing evasion and survival, shunning established trails, relying on Eagle Eye's profound landscape understanding, relentless survival education, complex snares, camouflage. Interpreting bird cries. Deer flight. Lily, driven by fear and fierce desire to be partner, not burdened. Proved adept, resilient student. Determination tempered like steel, shared peril forged complex, unspoken bond, transcending cultural divides, built on hard-won respect, cautiously revealed vulnerabilities. Beneath stoic warrior mask, Lily glimpsed compassion, grief masked by resolve. Eagle Eyes witnessed extraordinary courage blossoming in the seemingly fragile Eastern woman. They spoke more freely around meager, concealed fires. About the ledger, who were JR and MT, where were PC landing, MB camp, how did Thorne coordinate? Each cryptic entry a fragment of terrifying mosaic. Lily speculated about connections, riverboat lines, nascent railroads, tracing tendrils towards Harrison, Thorne's principles, Washington itself, new climax scene 2, canyon ambush, several days later, navigating a narrow, winding canyon chosen for its defensibility. Disaster struck. They were following a small creek bed, sheer rock walls rising hundreds of feet on either side. The only way forward or back along the narrow strip of land beside the water. Dusk was falling, painting the sky overhead in shades of bruised purple and blood orange. Suddenly, a flicker of movement high on the rimrock caught Eagle Eyes' attention. He froze, hand instantly going to his knife, pulling Lily behind a cluster of large boulders. "Stay down," he hissed, eyes scanning the heights. Then, the terrifying sounds began. The scrape of boots on rock from above, muffled commands, the metallic click of rifles being cocked. They were boxed in. A voice echoed down, amplified by the canyon walls, cold, precise, utterly chilling. "Thorn, spread out along the rim. Peterson, take your men and block the canyon mouth downstream. Riley, move your group to cut off the head. Flush them towards the narrows. Use the fire." Rocks began to rain down from above, deliberately aimed to dislodge them from cover. Then, smoke billowed from both ends of the canyon segment they occupied. Thorne's men had set fires in the dense brush, clogging the escape routes, intending to drive them into a killing zone in the creek bed. The acrid smell burned Lily's throat. Heat radiated intensely. Panic clawed at her. Trapped between rockfalls, rising smoke, and unseen gunmen. "We cannot stay here," Eagle Eyes stated grimly, eyes darting, assessing. "They force us into the open." He pointed towards a narrow, near vertical fissure in the canyon wall opposite, partially obscured by thorny brush. "There, our only chance." Leaving the meager cover of the boulders, they dashed across the open space towards the fissure. Rifle fire erupted from the rim rock. Bullets ricocheted off the rocks around them with terrifying whines, kicking up dust and stone fragments. One slug tore through the sleeve of Lily's dress, stinging her arm like a whip crack. Eagle Eyes shoved her towards the fissure, drawing his own knife and a small, wickedly sharp hand axe from his belt. Two of Thorne's men, attempting to cut them off low down, suddenly burst from the smoke downstream. They charged, rifles leveled. Eagle Eyes met them head-on. The clash was brutal, swift, terrifyingly intimate. A whirlwind of flashing steel, grunts, choked cries. Eagle Eyes moved with lethal fluidity, knife and axe weaving a deadly dance. One man went down with a gurgle, knife buried deep. The other fired wildly, the bullet screaming past Eagle Eye's head before the axe bit deep into his shoulder, sending him reeling back into the smoke, howling. "Go! Lily, climb!" Eagle Eyes roared, turning back towards the fissure, glancing frantically upward at the figures moving along the rim. Reloading, Lily scrambled into the narrow fissure, finding precarious handholds and footholds. It was steeper, more difficult than it looked. Below, Eagle Eyes covered her retreat, deflecting another thrown rock with his forearm, shouting challenges in Lakota that dripped with defiance. Smoke billowed thicker. Smoke billowed thicker, making breathing difficult. Tears streamed from Lily's eyes, blurring her vision. Her hands were scraped raw, muscles screaming. Fear threatened to paralyze her. Then she felt Eagle Eyes below her, boosting her upward, urging her on. "Faster! Lily Walker! They close!" Finally, gasping, bleeding, she hauled herself onto a narrow ledge, barely wide enough for two people, 50 feet above the canyon floor, partially screened by an overhang. Eagle Eyes scrambled up beside her, just as more bullets peppered the rock face below. They pressed themselves flat against the cold stone, hearts pounding, listening to Thorne's enraged shouts from below as his men searched the smoke-filled chaos fruitlessly. The fire crackled fiercely, consuming the brush, but seemed unable to reach their high perch. For now, they were hidden, then, but utterly trapped. "He leads them himself," Lily whispered, horrified. "Thorne doesn't delegate capture. He wants the ledger." Eagle Eyes breathed, wiping sweat and grime from his face, checking the edge of his knife. and us silenced. Permanently. He listened intently. They are pulling back from the fire. They will wait. Watch the ends of the canyon. We cannot go down. His eyes scanned the sheer rock face above them. There may be another way, up, but it will be difficult, especially in darkness. The close call, Thorne's ruthless command of a well-armed force, the terrifyingly personal nature of the pursuit, hammered home their lethal predicament. No longer just fugitives, designated targets marked for elimination, running desperately for their lives. They pressed on, urgency renewed, covering ground, faster, eating less, sleeping fitfully, constantly watching their back trail. Finally, after more grueling days marked by near starvation, thirst, and hypervigilance, the muddy, sprawling settlement of Fort Benton emerged on the hazy northeastern horizon. Significantly larger, louder, more turbulent than Redemption Creek. Boisterous hub of commerce, military presence. Riverboat crews, soldiers, trappers, settlers, wary tribespeople, observing chaos from periphery. Here, perhaps, Marshal Elias Vance might be found. Reputation, incorruptible toughness, pragmatic fairness. Independence resistant to money and politics. Navigating crowded, mud-churned streets unnoticed proved challenging. Eagle eyes, acutely aware of hostile prejudice, remained concealed on wooded outskirts. Move carefully. Lily Walker, he cautioned, dark eyes wary. Trust wilderness-honed instincts. Not all men wearing the star uphold true law. Some rent its authority. Indicated hidden spot to wait. Lily. Stained dress. Hair concealed beneath drab scarf. Tried blending into the throng. Ledger felt heavy. Dangerous beneath worn shawl. Located Marshal's office. Sturdy log structure near busy river levee. Paused. Gathered frayed courage. Took deep breath. Pushed heavy door open. Marshal Elias Vance looked up sharply from mountain range of paperwork. Formidable presence. Broad-shouldered. Iron gray hair. Weathered face. Piercing, intelligent blue eyes assessing her instantly. Weary vigilance bordering on cynicism. Something I can assist you with, miss. Low, gravelly rumble. Neither welcoming nor dismissive. Lily's voice trembled. Marshal Vance. Sir, Lily Carmichael. I require urgent assistance. Desperately. Possess proof. Irrefutable proof. Monstrous. Ongoing criminal enterprise. Reaching far beyond one corrupt town. She noted a stout, grizzled man sweeping near the back. Sergeant Miller. His expression impassive. Barely glancing up. Vance's keen gaze sharpened, noting dishevelment, exhaustion, but also glint of steel, fierce intensity. Gestured curtly towards simple wooden chair. Sit down, Miss Carmichael. Catch breath. Start from beginning. Don't leave anything out. Leaned back, arms crossed, listening with unwavering focus. Expression gradually hardening. Piercing blue eyes never leaving her face as Lily recounted the harrowing saga. Deception, betrayal, sale. Eagle eyes rescue outriver, peril taught infiltration. Ledger discovery. Thorne's menacing arrival, confirming Harrison connection. Desperate flight, canyon ambush. You claim Thorne directly implicated Major Eastern shipper Alistair Harrison. Vance interrupted sharply, probing. And you physically have this ledger now. Skepticism palpable. Also asked pointedly about Eagle Eyes. An Indian scout saved you. Why risk his neck, his angle? Lily met his challenge directly. Eagle Eyes acted out of honor. Marshal saw profound injustice. His sister was likely taken by such men years ago. He seeks nothing but balance, Saved my life multiple times. Immense personal risk. Finally, with trembling hands, retrieved the ledger, laying it squarely on his desk. Documented here. Marshall, voice gaining strength. Names, dates, codes, payments. Explicit confirmation of Davies' paid complicity. Thorne's connection to Harrison referenced directly in Croft's coded notes. Also mentioned the post laundress, Martha, met near the barracks earlier, kindly, plump, yet asked subtly probing questions about Lily's hardship before reaching the marshal. Suspicious. They traffic women, Marshall, luring with false promises, buying and selling human souls like grain sacks. Vance picked up the book, thick fingers turning brittle pages carefully, sharp eyes tracing damning columns. Long, tense silence. Miller continued sweeping, but his movements seemed slower, his posture attentive. Would Vance believe her? Dismiss the ledger? Fear political repercussions? At long last, Vance looked up, eyes hard as glacial ice, burning with cold, contained fury. Silas Croft, he growled, name like a curse. Suspected that slimy weasel for years. Whispers, rumors, girls vanishing. Never concrete evidence. Tapped ledger decisively. And Thorne, Elias Thorne, eyes narrowed dangerously. Name surfaced before, linked to disreputable shipping concerns. Street, Louis. Mentioned alongside Harrison's Missouri and Platte freight. Always skating inside blurry law edges, protected by money, influence. Slammed ledger down hard. This damned book changes everything. Irrefutable proof. Croft's own meticulous filth accounting, documenting Harrison's likely knowledge, makes this federal dynamite. Pinned her with intense gaze. Comprehend lethal danger, you are still, in. Thorne. Harrison. Considerable influence, vast resources. Utter ruthlessness. Will strike back, violently, understand completely. Marshall. Lily replied quietly. Firm, resolute. Lived with that danger every second. But this atrocity cannot continue. Victims deserve justice. Network must be stopped. Whatever personal cost. And the Lakota. Vance inquired again. Tone neutral. Probing. Eagle eyes. Where now? Saved my life. Repeatedly. Lily affirmed, unwavering, risked everything. Awaits word outside town limits. Did not believe he would be welcome or safe inside. Vance nodded curtly, flicker of understanding. Grudging respect. Showed wisdom. Prejudice poisons judgment. Eyes met hers. Decision made. But his testimony, corroborating, identifying Croft, Thorne, Barlow, Finn, maybe Davies by sight, invaluable, crucial. Pushed chair back abruptly, rising. All right, Miss Carmichael. Remarkable courage, vitally important endeavor. Let's mobilize this office's full resources, limited as they are. Bring these degenerate bastards to long overdue reckoning. Gave Sergeant Miller a sharp nod. Sergeant, find Corporal Evans. Miss Carmichael under protective guard immediately. Most secure quarters. No visitors, understand. None. I'll handle informing the colonel. The sergeant gave a curt yes, sir. His face remaining impassive. Vance acted swiftly, recognizing Thorne Harrison reach. Bypassed potentially compromised local channels. Composed coded. Urgent telegraph to territorial governor. Federal matter. Interstate conspiracy. Kidnapping. Trafficking. Mentioning ledger. Harrison link. Requesting experienced federal marshals immediately. Arranged secure lodging within Fort Barracks. Assigning 2 soldiers. Corporal Evans young. Fresh face. Kind eyes. and the seemingly reliable Sergeant Miller. As dusk settled, Vance rode out alone, heavily armed, towards Eagle Eye's waiting place. Miller watched him go from Marshall's doorway, expression unreadable, from behind barred window. Lily watched Vance depart, agonizing hours later. He returned, not alone, riding silently beside him, Eagle Eyes, proud figure on Appaloosa pony. Vance convinced him of relative safety, vital importance of testimony. Seeing Marshall and Lakota warrior together, unlikely alliance, filled Lily with relief, fragile optimism, justice achievable through courage, cooperation, armed with Lily's narrative. Eagle Eye's corroboration identifying players, adding suspected river routes landings, damning ledger. Vance possessed formidable case, awaiting federal marshals. Initiated discreet local intelligence gathering, Doc cautiously identifying Thorne Harrison shipping contacts, cross-referencing riverboat schedules against ledger codes. Waiting stretched Lily's nerves. Sequestered, guarded room. Aware Thorne could have unseen operatives inside. Watched Corporal Evans with inexplicable unease. Kindness felt slightly off-key. Increasingly wary of Martha, laundress, whose earlier solicitousness now felt calculating. Questions disturbingly specific. Eagle Eyes stayed nearby, housed reluctantly in stables, often visible as silent, watchful presence patrolling outer walls, occasionally meeting quietly with Lily, chaperoned by Vance or, more often, Sergeant Miller. Brief, supervised meetings, spoke more openly. His people's struggles, dwindling hopes, her reframed dreams, independent purpose, forging place based on merits. Naive girl gone, forged anew. New major twist and climax scene 3. Betrayal within. The internal danger materialized with shocking speed. It wasn't the young Corporal Evans who betrayed them. It was the veteran, the seemingly reliable rock, Sergeant Miller. One evening, Miller himself delivered the supper tray, relieving Evans slightly early. His usual stoic demeanor seemed subtly strained. Marshall sends his compliments. "Ma'am," Miller said, his voice gruff but perhaps a fraction too loud. He placed the tray down, and as he turned, Lily noticed something glint near his boot, a freshly discarded cigarillo butt. The distinctive, expensive Turkish brand Thorne had been smoking in Croft's office. A cold dread dot sharp and certain washed over her. Miller hadn't been just listening during her interview. He'd been gathering intelligence. His watchfulness wasn't duty, it was surveillance. His presence chaperoning her meetings with Eagle Eyes wasn't protection, it was monitoring. Thinking desperately, Lily feigned a coughing fit, deliberately knocking her water pitcher onto the floor, creating a clatter and a spreading puddle near the door. "Oh, clumsy me," she gasped, bending down as if to clean it. Buying herself precious seconds, Miller turned back, irritation momentarily flashing across his impassive features. "Careful there, ma'am," as he stepped closer to assess the accident, avoiding the puddle. Lily acted, dredging up every ounce of strength born of survival. She lunged, grabbing the heavy wooden chair Vance had provided and swinging it with all her might, connecting solidly with the back of Miller's knees. He roared in surprise and pain, buckling forward. Simultaneously, Lily screamed at the top of her lungs. "Marshall, help! Traitor! Miller works for Thorne!" Her cry echoed down the barracks hallway, just as Corporal Evans was returning from a brief errand. Miller, recovering faster than Lily expected, snarled, drawing his service revolver not on Evans, but aiming squarely at Lily. He hadn't intended a subtle trap. This was a direct elimination attempt. likely timed just before the federal marshals were due to arrive. Before Miller could fire, the door burst open again. Not Vance, but Eagle Eyes, alerted by the commotion, moving with uncanny speed from the stables where he'd been increasingly wary of Miller's watchful eye. He launched himself into the room. He collided with Miller just as the pistol discharged, the bullet burying itself harmlessly in the log wall inches from Lily's head. The struggle was short, brutal, confined within the small room. Evans, shocked but reacting instinctively, tried to grapple with his sergeant. Miller, enraged, threw the younger man off violently against the wall, dazing him. Eagle Eyes, armed only with his ever-present knife against Miller's gun and desperate strength, fought with calculated fury. The Lakota warrior ducked under a wild swing, his knife flashing, slicing Miller's gun arm deeply. The revolver clattered to the floor. Miller howled, grappling Eagle Eyes. Trying to use his greater weight, they crashed against the far wall, overturning the small cot. Just as Miller reached for the fallen pistol, Eagle Eyes drove his knee hard into the sergeant's ribs, followed by a swift, precise blow with the knife hilt to Miller's temple. The sergeant slumped, unconscious but alive. Marshal Vance burst in moments later, alerted by Evans' renewed shouts and the gunshot, his own pistol drawn, taking in the chaotic scene, Lily pale but unharmed. Evans dazed, Miller unconscious and bleeding, Eagle Eyes standing over him, breathing hard, knife still in hand. "Report!" Vance snapped, covering the room. "Sergeant Miller," Lily gasped, pointing with a trembling finger. "He's Thorne's man. He tried to kill me." The cigar, his questions. "Eagle Eyes saved me." Evans dazedly corroborated the attack. Vance's face hardened into granite. The betrayal, discovered just in time, underscored Thorne and Harrison's terrifying reach and ruthlessness. Lily was safe, profoundly shaken. Trust was a fragile, easily shattered commodity. Miller's long service, his seeming reliability, had been the perfect cover. Martha the laundress, likely another of Miller's informants, was swiftly detained based on Lily's reinforced suspicions. The federal marshals arrived the next morning, finding the fort already reeling from the internal betrayal. Vance's compiled information, now significantly bolstered by the tangible proof of the attempted assassination, provided undeniable impetus. Armed with the ledger and federal arrest warrants, they orchestrated simultaneous, coordinated raids, the net UNRAVs, back in Redemption Creek. A stunned Silas Croft was apprehended before dawn, confronted with his ledger. Lily's deposition, including the account of Miller's betrayal, and news of Thorne's implication in the active federal pursuit. Croft disintegrated. Facing hanging, he confessed fully, implicating Thorne as mastermind, confirming Davies' paid complicity, naming riverboat captains James Riley Jr. and Marcus Thorne M.T., Thorne's distant, disreputable cousin, as key transporters. Crucially, Croft detailed Thorne's operational link to Alistair Harrison and the Missouri and Platte Freight Company, confirming Harrison's vital role in logistics. Funding. Sourcing demand. Concurrently, federal marshals intercepted James Riley's northbound riverboat, arrested Jr., and discovered two terrified young immigrant women hidden in a false cargo hold. Barlow, the surviving brute, was tracked with Marcus Thorne to a lawless mining camp high in the mountains, captured after a furious firefight, leaving Finn dead and Barlow seriously wounded. Marcus Thorne surrendered when cornered. The shadow network rapidly unraveled. Elias Thorne proved predictably elusive. Alerted to Croft's arrest, perhaps via telegraph from a corrupted operator, or Miller failing to report in, he attempted clandestine departure. But Vance, anticipating, had tightened surveillance. Thorne was apprehended quietly boarding a southbound steamer under an assumed name. A search yielded significant cash, additional incriminating documents, coded shipping manifests, correspondence confirming Harrison's direct oversight and knowledge of illicit cargo. Critically, a coded list naming affluent buyers downriver. Thorne's capture triggered a separate, discreet federal investigation into Alistair Harrison's empire back east. Justice Davies was found hanged in his jail cell, apparent suicide before trial. The exposure and dismantling sent shockwaves. Newspapers seized the sensational story, gradually, influenced by Vance's official reports. Narratives shifted, highlighting Lily Carmichael's extraordinary courage and Eagle Eye's crucial, honorable role. Trials were relatively swift. Croft received a lengthy federal prison sentence for cooperation. Barlow got life, as did Marcus Thorne. Riley received a similar lengthy term. Elias Thorne, facing overwhelming federal charges: conspiracy, kidnapping, trafficking, accessory to murder, was transported east under heavy guard to face a federal tribunal alongside the impending case against Alistair Harrison, whose extensive legal team immediately began deploying delaying tactics and attempting political interference. Thorne's capture decapitated the Western network, but Harrison's wealth and connections remained a chilling reminder of deep, corrupted roots. Martha, implicated through Miller's eventual confession, coerced under threat of facing conspiracy charges alone regarding local informants, was quietly dismissed from the fort and ordered out of the territory. A new dawn, separate paths, with immediate danger neutralized. Trials concluded. Lily faced, what now? Where belonged? Marshal Vance offered protected passage east, modest stipend, generous, but east felt irrecoverable past. Closed chapter. Montana, despite trauma, felt paradoxically home. Here, discovered inner strength, resilience, capacity to survive, fight back. Lily sought Eagle Eyes one last time near the Missouri banks, gazing at restless water, preparing to depart, melt back into wilderness sanctuary. They are gone, Lily stated softly beside him, wind tugging her unbound hair. Croft, Thorne, Barlow, Miller, Davies' network shattered. This poisoned branch cut down. Eagle Eyes nodded slowly. Rare, quiet satisfaction softening stoic features. Justice, he observed quietly, voice blending with river murmur, sometimes possesses sharp teeth. Even Wasatch justice, wielded by honorable hands like the marshals, turned gaze, unspoken question in dark eyes. What path now? Lily Carmichael. Lily Walker, don't know, she admitted frankly, gaze sweeping endless plains. Marshall offered passage east, cannot go back. Frightened woman seeking borrowed safety, died somewhere between Redemption Creek and here. Gaze lingered on immense landscape, finding solace. Came west seeking stability someone else provided. Instead, voice grew stronger, quiet wonder. Found myself. Stripped bare, tested by fire, forged anew. Learned I could endure, fight back, demand justice. Paused, turning to face him, gaze steady. Thank you, Eagle Eyes, everything. Not merely saving my life, but guiding me, showing path towards claiming my life, finding, trusting my strength. Rare, fleeting smile touched his lips. Unearthed your own hidden strength. Lily Carmichael, he replied gently. Buried beneath grief. Fear, like spring beneath dry earth, merely helped clear debris. Gestured west, sun descending towards distant mountains. My path lies that way. Back towards my people. Powder River country calls. Word comes on wind of increased military presence. Surveyors pushing onto treaty lands, possibly spurred by Harrison's greed seeking new resources now river routes disrupted. Must warn my band, prepare. Mentioned Harrison with grim certainty. The ripples of Thorn's fall would bring new dangers to his people. Lily understood. Paths converged violently, unexpectedly, must now inevitably diverge. Poignant sadness resonated, sharp yet clean, tempered by rightness, acceptance. Worlds vastly different, separated by history, culture, tragedy, yet shared something profound, transformative. Will paths cross again? She asked softly. Land vast, but Wakantanka weaves unseen threads connecting lives, he replied enigmatically, eyes holding hers long moment. Paths converge, diverge, guided by purpose. Need, whispering wind carrying stories, reached into pouch, withdrew something small, pressing it firmly into her hand. Single, perfect eagle feather. Tip wrapped in intricate blue, white quillwork. Reminder, he said simply. Held her gaze, deep silent acknowledgement. Bond forged in danger. Mutual respect transcending words. Walk tall. Lily Carmichael. Live always with courage. 10 spirit fire. Let it soar high, like the eagle. Turned, mounted pony effortlessly. Walked away, merging into long shadows stretching across prairie grass. Dissolving seamlessly back into vast landscape. Home. Birthright. Anchor. Lily watched him go, eyes tracing receding figure until indistinguishable. Profound loss. Sharp. Clean. Interwoven with immense gratitude, unshakable determination. Not east. Remain. Here. Montana. Marshal Vance readily agreed to her proposal, assist his office, interviewing new female arrivals, offering support, cautious counsel based on her harrowing ordeal. She secured introductions to the few women rescued from Riley's boat, beginning the tentative formation of a support network. Initial funding for a small shelter was cautiously discussed with Vance, who promised to petition the territorial governor, citing the high-profile case. It was a first, uncertain step onto a new path. Future stretched before her, no longer terrifying void, but unwritten narrative. Challenging, potentially hopeful blank page. She possessed power, agency, fierce determination to right herself. Scars remained, indelible reminders, testaments to survival. Endurance. Profound. Painful. Liberating transformation. The eventual conviction of Alistair Harrison on lesser charges: corruption, conspiracy related to freight fraud, shielded from direct trafficking involvement by layers of deniability. While frustratingly incomplete, still felt like a significant blow against the system that enabled such evil. Standing tall beneath immense, boundless Montana sky, facing beckoning western horizon, no longer frightened mail-order bride, but woman reforged, tempered, claimed by harsh crucible. Embracing unknown, ready for challenges, sorrows, potential joys, forever carrying eagle spirit, mountain strength, wilderness wisdom deep within fiercely beating, resilient heart. Morning sun climbed higher, bathing vast plains in warm, golden light. Not harsh judgment, but benediction. Quiet promise of new, hard won. Fiercely self-determined dawn, breaking across the land, and within her soul,